Hey everyone, welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast. This show is about helping you grow as a coach by standing on the shoulders of giants. Each show, you get a different mentor in your ear. The early motivations, the successes, the failures, the tools, the tricks, and the insight into where the industry is going. All of it so you can make your own dent in the world. Remember, success leaves clues. Now, without further ado, on to the show.
And welcome to the Coach Catalyst podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Whitwer, and I guess today I'm also the coach. So this is a version of the Coach Catalyst podcast called Coach the Coach, where I get to sit down with awesome business owners, online coaches, people that are in our world and help them work through a problem that they have. The goal of this podcast is to help maybe spark some ideas for you so that you can get over some of the obstacles or roadblocks that you have in your business. So in this episode, I get to speak with Morgan. So Morgan is a coach for busy moms. She is in the offline world, but also in the online world, and eventually wants to transition more into the online world. So she does both nutrition, lifestyle, and fitness. And in this episode, we really help her craft what her offering should be and how to scale that program, and really how she should set up her business in a way that really serves her. Because she does want to do the customized kind of one-on-one coaching, but also wants to do more of the accountability group-based coaching. So we talk through some different scenarios and help her come up with the best strategy and best business offerings that both serve her business and her life. So I hope you enjoy this episode, this Coach to Coach episode with Morgan. All right, so let's do this. For me, the best thing right away is to get some context on business, how you operate online, offline, kind of monetization strategies, all of that kind of stuff. So we just have a good idea on like the foundation. So give me that stuff.
Okay, so my end goal is to be fully online because I still live in the same town of the gym that I used to work at. I see a handful of clients in person, but my in-person clients don't use my coach. My end goal is to have an accountability program that is a customized and a general type of program. And then to also run small 7, 14, or 21 day programs like sporadically, I should say, throughout the year, based on like important times in the school year, because I work with busy moms. So like, I'm not going to run something through spring break because it's not going to work for them, but I may run something running up to spring break or post spring break that's short term. So that is my end goal. Currently, I do sales and setting for Pat. I do sales and setting for another coach, and then I run my own business. So I've got my hands in a lot, but I love the accountability portion. And when Holly told me about my coach and she showed me when I was at their place back November, December, it was a game changer. And my clients who use it absolutely love it. So I want to find a way to essentially use it to its best ability and the most efficient. And I really don't think I'm doing that, but I also know I haven't put in a ton of time into learning that, but I'd love to learn where should I be starting? Because I just went in and started playing. That's how I started, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yep. So your core market is busy moms, and is the goal weight loss? What's the goal of the people that you're working with?
So really all of them want weight loss. That's what I've learned is deep down, they all want weight loss. But the other thing is they want strength. They want it to be quick and easy. And they want what they incorporate into their day to be really small, that it doesn't take up hours of their day. So I call them micro habits, which essentially are those little actions that I'm having them do. Yep.
Okay, cool. And so what's working for you right now?
What is working is, going in. I don't think it's going to work long term, but what's working is creating their profile. I put them into the accountability program, but then I go in and I customize what their actions are each week when we do a check-in through the app. And that works really well because it allows that customization that they're looking for to fit their life. And that is working, and I can see the results in my clients of them showing up, of them being able to click their workout and enjoy that as a little bonus rather than that having to be the only thing that they're paying me for. So yeah, I'd say that is.
So when you said, so you said kind of like the hesitation, like you kind of had a hesitation about, is that the route that you want to continue to go, or do you not see that as more of like a scalable opportunity for you?
I've had mixed opinions from myself and from coaches of that scaling that is probably not ideal. I've never done it, so I don't know. In my mind, I'm like, anything's possible, but I do know I will eventually run out of time. So I'd love to have a handful. I'd love to have like 10 that are super customized programs where I go in and each week we have deep down dialogues. We work on those actions, but then I want to support the accountability aspect and them creating these habits, but at a more generalized of, okay, when you come on that first month, all we're focusing is on water. And then after that next month, we're now going to incorporate the next thing and build on it in a more general way rather than that customized way, if that makes sense.
Okay. Hey there, you sexy little W. Sorry for interrupting your regular programming. This is Trevor. Now, I've got a big announcement, something I'm really, really excited about, and that is the Super Coaches Summit, our Coach Catalyst Summit that is taking place in August 5th and 6th in Reston, Virginia, right outside of the Dulles Airport. Super easy to get to. Now, we've been to a lot of events. We go to a lot of events, and we wanted to make this event different. Most events are educational. You have great speakers on stage. You take a bunch of notes. You go home and do nothing. Right? We want this event to be more practical. We want it to be tactical. We want you to leave the event with a better business than when you came. Not going home and hoping that you implementing at the event. And then the second thing we want this event to be is the best networking, connecting, collaborating event you've ever been to. So we've got some really special things in store to facilitate those connections. So if you're looking for a different event, something that's going to level you up and an event that's going to allow you to have a better business when you leave than when you came, definitely check out the Super Coaches Summit. We are dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's. This thing is going to be on point, and I want you to be there. So you're almost looking at kind of like multiple tiers. So like tier 1 might be the 7-day challenge, the 14-day challenge, the 21-day, maybe as kind of, we call it like a lead generator, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're going to come in, they're going to do this thing, they're going to get a little bit of a taste of what you do and the coaching that you can provide. And then the next level is more of a, let's call it a program, the 12-week program. It's just not necessarily customized. And it could be 12 weeks, 6, whatever. I'm just giving a generic number, right? And then you could have your highest level program, which is your custom everything type program, where you kind of have these different tiers, and that one is limited, and that, I only can handle 10 clients at a time in this particular program. But that gives you that middle program where you can handle a large scale, because it's a very structured approach and you're not necessarily customizing. It's more of like a, are you familiar with like Precision Nutrition?
Yeah.
Like their lean eating program. So it's kind of like a lean eating program, right? Like, here are the 12 things. We're going to go through them. Each one is 2 weeks long. The lessons are laid out. Everything is laid out. Yeah, you're going to get access to me through the messenger and that kind of stuff. So I'll be able to answer questions, this or that. Maybe you do like a weekly call that everyone can jump on. So it's very scalable, right? But you're basically just taking people through this journey versus your high level offering, which is very like customized to the individual and their needs. And then it's just like making sure that you're charging accordingly based upon the level that they're at, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So does that seem like a sustainable approach?
Yes, because the problem that I'm running into coming from a gym is I went from the model of you see everyone for an hour or for a half hour for their training time, and I'm tapped out on calls. And by doing more of these group programs, even though that custom level would be one-on-one, I still want it to be a group program with a group coaching call, so I'm not on individual calls with people, because that is where I'm finding I'm tapped. By the end of the week, I don't schedule anything for Fridays anymore because I am tapped by how much I'm on calls for just all the areas.
So how many clients are you doing calls with right now? Like your own clients?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 7 of them are twice a week.
Okay. So you're doing twice a week calls and you're just talking through nutrition, mindset, that kind of stuff? Or are you having them do workouts, follow along workouts and things like that?
I'm having them do workouts. So essentially if I were to be at the gym with them, I'm doing the same exact thing. They're just doing it from their home. They're most of my people who came from the gym, that is the world of personal training they live in. And I still charge hourly for them. Their rates have gone up since moving to virtual. I'm not taking anyone else on like that, but I need to figure out how to maximize that rest of my time to still grow. Because I do know that those one-on-one call times it's not feasible long-term.
And you're planning to keep that going, or do you want to phase that out?
I would love to phase it out. I know me, and I know I will not phase it out until I move out of where I currently live, because until I move out of town or I move out of state, my internal guilt of I'm here, I need to just see them is going to set in. So when we move, they're going to get phased out completely, and I don't want that to be an option anymore. Unless it's going to be really high ticket, really, really high ticket.
Why do you think moving is going to change that? Because it's a virtual format right now, right?
Yes. 4 of those are in person. So 8 of those hours are in person. They come to my house. So
got it.
That would clear the virtual. Those, they would stick around. But if I could get those 8 in-person people off my plate, or those 8 hours, that would clear up a lot of room. And that won't change. I should have been more specific. That won't change until I move because of my internal guilt.
Right. Yep. Okay. And so just so that I'm making sure that we're kind of talking about the right question. So you are looking to find ways to kind of scale without necessarily adding a lot more hours of one-on-one coaching call times and doing that. Is that right?
Absolutely.
So then I think you're kind of looking at that middle tier, right? Of what's your kind of quote unquote signature program? And maybe you've heard that term used by other people, but I think it's a good representation of what it is, right? So is it 12 weeks, is it 16 weeks, whatever. And what I tell most people is figure out, who the person you're serving is and what can you help them achieve, or what do they want to achieve in that time frame, right? What would be a perfect outcome for that person in this time frame? And then you build the program to achieve said outcome. And if that might be 8 weeks, it might be 12 weeks, it might be 16 weeks, it might be 6 months, it might be 12 months. Or there could be different phases as part of that program. But then you create kind of the curriculum to get the outcome. And so who is my person that I'm serving? What is the thing that they want to accomplish? And then what type of program do we need to put together in order to help them accomplish that, right? And it's probably just taking a very similar journey that you've already taken with people that you've been doing lots of calls with, and now you're just making it a little bit more structured. And then once you have that figured out, then it's probably deciding on, do I make this an evergreen thing where people can join this at any time? Or do I make this hey, I'm opening my program. I'm going to take X amount of people. And the doors close on this day because we start the program, whatever, the following Monday. Or so you run it almost with the gym, if you're running a challenge or you're running something like that, it's more deadline driven. So there's a level of urgency that I need to sign up and that I can't just do it anytime. But there are plus and minuses to each way of doing it. One of the benefits of doing it all together as one big group is then those weekly calls can be a little bit more specific to what they might be working on at that period of the program
versus if you have people at all different phases of the program, then those calls need to be a little bit more general, because people are in different spots. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And in my mind, I like the idea of that middle tier having an end date, because I like the evergreen for that, so people can come in if that's my signature program, having that be evergreen, and then running my shorter 7, 14, and 21 days as doors closed. I'm running my first one of those starting on Sunday. And I did a doors closed type of thing. And for never running one or never promoting anything, I had 7 people sign up with with $25 per spot. But it was just the feedback I needed to know that they wanted it. And that pricing for those short terms is always interesting too.
So it depends on the goal, right? And so if the goal is to get a lot of people in the kind of short-term program, right, then we go a little bit lower. If the goal is to get more of the quote-unquote right people, then we might go a little bit higher. And you can always play with things with pricing where hey, if someone completes the program, maybe you give them their money back, or they can then use whatever they paid for that program and roll it into your bigger program. Because your ultimate goal, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you want to get more people into your kind of, let's call it your signature program, right? That's where you're going to be able to help the most people. That's where you're going to make the most money, is in that particular program. And so the goal is to get as many people into those programs as you can. And so then you can play with that kind of 7-day, 14-day, 21-day, play with some pricing there. Does it make more sense it's good to have them invest something so that at least they have a little bit of skin in the game. And if you don't feel good about maybe having them invest a lot, you kind of find a number that feels comfortable. And then if you want to say hey, if you complete the program at a high percentage or whatever you want to do for compliance, I'll give you the money back, or you can roll the money into kind of the next phase, because at 7, 14 days isn't going to fix your problem, right? It's not going to fix the thing that you have going on. And so that's where my next program is really going to, help you find the solution that you need, or achieve the solution that you need. So does that make sense?
Yep, that makes perfect sense. So really what I'm hearing is the thing that I am missing is that middle tier signature program that essentially, I'm going to use the word course, but that's not what it is, but a course, this week, that builds on each other. I've seen in some of the example programs that we can copy and use is each week, this is what we talk about. And then the building from week to week or month to month through that.
Yep. As a gym owner, Coach Catalyst is the key to having low turnover. For several years, I struggled and spent 10 to 20 hours a week communicating with clients via phone calls, Facebook Messenger, email, and text messages. I had tried everything to make my life more efficient. I was at my wit's end. And then I found Coach Catalyst. Since starting the software, I have found a life again, and my clients are thanking me for being so involved in their fitness life. I've cut my daily commitment to interacting with over 300 clients to under 15 minutes a day and have streamlined my 6-week challenges. I couldn't recommend it more. I just don't know if I would even be here today if it wasn't for Coach Catalyst. If you don't have an account already, you're missing out and not helping the people you could be.
So I think course is a good term.
Okay.
I actually like to use an education system, as a way to explain these examples, right? So when you go to school, right, you're going to have a curriculum that you go through, right? If you're learning algebra, you learn the basics at the beginning and they all kind of advance on each other and things get more challenging as you go along the course, right? And the teacher is kind of like the coach. They're helping you be successful, but you're doing it in a group format. And so it's very scalable. I'm doing it with 20, 30, 50 students because the curriculum is specific, right? And that's different than a tutor, right? If I have a specific tutor, a tutor can't work with more than 1 or 2 people at a time because they're kind of manipulating the curriculum to that specific individual. So they might be going slower or they might be going faster depending on what that person needs. And so a tutor is kind of your high-end type program. This is more of your classroom setting where you are going to take them through the curriculum. You're all going to go at the same pace, Doesn't mean that you're not going to help them, but it just means that they had to kind of keep up with the course material. But the difference between a course that most people think about an online course is like, here's your course, good luck, go through it, and like someone just completes it, and like the likelihood of them completing it is like less than 5%. This is a coaching program, right? The course is just the curriculum, it's the education. But the difference between this and them doing it on their own is you. And so you are going to be watching, you're going to be helping them, you're going to be seeing if they're, checking in and doing the things they need to do, you're going to be following up with them. And because you have everything kind of quote unquote automated as far as the delivery mechanisms go, it frees up your time to then be able to do the coaching and have the conversations and be in the messenger and help them be successful and help them come up with strategies and like keep them on track and pick them up when they're falling down and congratulate them when they're doing awesome and do all those things that like a coach does. And so like when you're talking about it with clients too, that's really how we talk about it. Like if someone talks about the things why they weren't successful in the past, a lot of times it's because they tried to just do it on their own. They tried to like figure it out. They really didn't know quite what to do. Maybe they watched some YouTube videos. Maybe they downloaded a course or something. And so you can say, yeah, that was good. But the thing that you were missing was accountability and coaching. And so accountability and coaching is what's ultimately going to get you there. You had a few of the pieces in place, but this was the missing link. And this is why we created this course, was to provide that for you so that you could finally be successful and not have to continue to get on or off the wagon or do the yo-yo thing or whatever verbiage that makes sense for your particular audience. So I think that's a very scalable kind of position for you to be in. Does that make sense?
It does. And what I'm also hearing is less is more. Like, I don't need to I get stuck in this because I do this all the time. Like, oh, I'll just create something specific for this person. And I need to have less is more. I need to have a signature, which is generic. And then I can have a custom, but that custom needs to have its guidelines that they don't change per person. That's like, here are the things that are customizable type of thing. I need to get more clear and keep it more simple rather than kind of being this ping pong ball over the place.
Well, you can think about it as like, there can be some customization if you want to go there, but you keep the customization within the same lane, right? So maybe the first couple of weeks is protein, right? And you figure out what the generic protein thing is that we're going to work on. And maybe it's eat protein with every meal, like a significant protein source with every meal. Maybe that's your kind of action that you want them to hit. But so-and-so is just like, they can't do it. Like they're just really struggling with it. And so then maybe for that person, you're like, hey, you know what? We're going to switch yours to just 2 meals. Instead of 3, I want yours to be 2. And so they can see some success and have some success with it. But you're not having like rewrite the entire book. It's just like, hey, we're just going to maybe tweak, kind of like exercise, regressions and progressions, right? And so like if you can't do a barbell front squat, okay, we're going to have you goblet squat instead. Same movement pattern, same everything, but we're just making a slight tweak. And so if you wanted to add a little bit of customization to the kind of curriculum, you can just slide those kind of habits one way or the other, depending on the individual and depending on how successful they're being with a particular habit. And if that is the case, you do want to go that route. You typically want a little longer habits. So you're probably going to want to be in like the 14-day type thing where someone works on the same thing for a couple of weeks. Because if it is just a week, that doesn't give you a lot of time to be able to tweak or change things, right? Like you need 3 or 4 days to kind of get into it and see if someone's actually being successful with it. And then you change it and then the week is over. And so then if you do end up making a tweak, then they have the second week to be able to like execute on it.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. This is super helpful to kind of get a framework of what I need to create, because that's kind of where I've been stuck is, okay, so I have these 7, 14, and 21 day programs. I know what I want it to lead into, but what I want it to lead into is looked fuzzy. So this is helpful for me to then, okay, let's create a general to start that's X amount. And I always say 3 months. So so a 90 day, whatever weeks that would be, put that in weeks and have that program be the signature. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's spot on. And then you just figure out what's the curriculum. What do we need to learn in week 1 and 2? What do we need to learn in week 3 and 4? What do we need to learn? And typically, like in any sort of like behavior change formation, we want really easy right away, right? We want success early on. Yeah, it might not necessarily be the most impactful, but can we get some success early on so that they just feel success? And then we just continue to build on those things until by week 12, things are a little more challenging because they have more skills. I like to think about like behavior change as like skill development. And so what are the skills we need to learn early on and that are then going to make the later skills a little bit easier? And that's how we talk about with clients too. A lot is like skill development. Like eating, nutrition is a skill. Like we need to know what to do, but we also need to know how to do it. And then like how to do it effectively. And that's really kind of what you're teaching versus just like eat this, not that. It's like you're looking more at like the strategy around it.
My favorite thing about Coach Catalyst.
One of the things I love most about Coach Catalyst.
There are lots of things I love about Coach Catalyst.
And the reason why I love Coach Catalyst is that
the accountability off the back of that
is simplicity.
The support is amazing.
It allows me to give so much of me to my clients.
It's the drip feeding of content.
I can schedule lessons for my clients in advance.
Game changer for freeing up time.
It gives me my time back.
It's so simple and so easy.
Hi, I'm Kane, the founder of Coach Catalyst, the #1 accountability and communication software on the market today. We help coaches just like you keep their clients accountable and scale their business beyond what they've ever been able to do before. So if that sounds like something you want, let's take a look at how we can help. So Coach Catalyst was built on the 4 C's of coaching. Those are content, communication, community, and consistency. So for content, you need to go beyond just workouts and deliver the whole experience for the client so they get the results they deserve. For communication, you need to own your communication. If you don't own the communication, you don't own the client. So make sure you stop texting clients and use a centralized platform. For communities, get off of Facebook groups and take ownership over your social group with Coach Catalyst communities. And for consistency, the foundation of all results for clients, we took the best-selling book Atomic Habits and built all of these fundamentals right within our app that's going to guarantee to get your clients the best results possible. If you want to start using the 4 C's with your clients, content, connection, community, and consistency, make sure you run over to Coach Catalyst and start a free trial today.
And I do that so the call that you and I were on together in Pat's group, I do weekly calls in my free group, and I essentially teach this, but it's not written. And I'm not a fan of written stuff. So I think that's where the course or curriculum has always been like, it doesn't seem awesome to me, but finding a way to pair
video
with the bullet points and stuff is what I'm seeing is probably going to be better.
Absolutely. Yeah, so here's the thing, like you don't know how someone wants to learn necessarily, right? Some people like to read, some people like to listen and watch. And so the best courses that I've seen they do both, right? And it could even be, if you really like creating videos, you could create the video and then just have it transcribed. And then down below, there's your lesson. It's just basically it's just you talking. And so that's a quick way to be able to get both. But there are going to be certain things that you want written, like you're going to want guides, you're going to want, I don't want to say handouts because that makes it feel like there's a lot more creation, but like bullet points, like what is protein? Like what are some foods that contain like it's a lot easier to kind of scan that kind of stuff versus like, I have to watch an entire video to find out like what foods are like important protein sources or significant protein sources, right? And so I think it is a blend of the two. But what I wouldn't want you to do is spend so much time creating that you never actually, like it takes forever to launch it because you're trying to like get the curriculum right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, what's the minimum the client needs to know in order to be successful? Let's start there. And then just find ways to get the client to actually do it. Because like that is the ultimate, that's the secret to success, right? Is the doing, not necessarily the knowing. And so the knowing helps, but if knowing was the secret, then everyone would be fit, healthy, and happy, right? They know what they need to do, but it's the execution of that. And that's really what your program solves. And you as a coach, that's where the coach comes in, is like helping that person execute.
So if I were to go into my coach and look at any of the pre-programmed ones that I can make a copy of, is there one that you think has a really good framework for kind of what I've just talked about that I should not fully steal, but at least
so I would look at, steal it. Like, I mean, that's the whole point of why we created content, is so that you can just rip it and get to work. So there's the 12-month, I think the 6-month habit course. It's like 6-month habits or 12 habits or something like that. I would just type in habits into the search bar and that'll come up with some. There's like 5x14 and 5x7. Those are basically 5 habits, one for 14 days, the other one for 7 days. So depending on the length of stuff, those would be good ones that are going to have a good amount of content for you to be able to start creating and putting together. And it's all going to be based around habits. So like, hey, you're maybe talking about vegetables. Awesome. We're going to have 14 lessons on vegetables that you'd be able to utilize to help create some content around vegetables. What are they? Why are they important? How should you cook them? What are some easy to make recipes? And then the key to all of this too, then, is like you get people through it, right? And then you have that conversation at the end of like, hey, what did you want? What would you wanted to see if you were to do this course again? Or what would you change? Or what did you need more of? What do you feel like you need less of? And so the course continues to evolve based on the feedback that you're getting from people that go through it and their results and how successful they were. You know, maybe people are falling off like in week 6 all the time. Then you go and look at week 6 and like, all right, what am I doing here? Is it the thing that we're introducing here that just is people are falling off? And then you just continue to iterate on it. And so we're not going to get it like perfect from the beginning. And so I think kind of letting that go and just being like, okay, let's get some people going through this so I can iterate and continue to improve the process. And then it's very possible for you is like you could have if someone wants to take the course over again, like maybe instead of paying the $500 or whatever it is for the course, like, hey, you can do it again if you want for $200 or $150 or that kind of thing. And so it doesn't necessarily add more load. But then if you do get to a point where you have more freedom, they could complete the course. And if they're still not to their spot, then you could move them into individual coaching, right? Like then they could move into your kind of higher tier. We're going to really customize this for you.
Awesome. And I know we're at time, but you mentioned pricing there. Like, is that where would you suggest a 12-week like signature program? Like, what range do you normally see that show up in? Like, is that a 2 to 500? You mentioned 500. So, like, where do you normally see that at?
Whatever people will pay for it, right? And so, the more specific you can be with who you're serving, and the more specific you can be with the problem that you're solving, and the more testimonials that you have, the more social proof that you have, the more you can charge. And so, right off the bat, I mean, if someone wanted to work with you one-on-one, right? Let's say you were going to do this for someone, what would you charge for a month of coaching and they're meeting with you every week?
Currently I charge $500 a month for that.
Okay. So, we're starting to get close to that ballpark, right? So you're maybe at 300, maybe you're at 400. I would say right away, figure out what you feel really comfortable on. And honestly, I would start it off the bat, your first round of people, and be like, hey, I've just created this new course. It's built for busy moms who want to X. They want to accomplish X in 12 weeks. So who's our avatar? What's the promise? What are we going to deliver for them? And what's the time frame? Right? And then I'm doing like a beta round, or I'm doing a test round. And so I want these people to do it for 50% off or 75% off or whatever you feel like is good. But in return, I would like testimonials and social proof and that kind of stuff. And so that can be an easy way to launch it and see kind of what that price point is. And maybe you say it's 50% off and you charge $200 a month, right? So it ends up being like a $600 program. And if people jump on that really easily and they don't really have any issues, then cool. Then maybe the next time when you open it, it's higher than that. And then each time you can keep kind of bumping it up a little bit more and a little bit more. And then you find a point where you get more resistance, or you get more kind of price objections. And then now you're starting to know that I'm kind of in this zone of like, okay, I'm getting close. And so either I need to do a better job of articulating or showing, or for my market, I'm kind of hitting the kind of the top. So one thing with pricing too is typically people that spend more will be better clients. Like that's just the way it is. And so if you're selling a $9 product or a $19 product or a $49 product, you're going to get that type of person, and you're going to spend a lot of time with follow-up and trying to like pull that person along rather than the person that really wants to accomplish something. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes a lot of sense. And I like you saying that you can raise it each time to find what that ceiling is. I don't think I've ever done that. I've never done that. So I like that concept and what you just said. So that's super helpful to know. Well, I've got this many people. Well, they won't pay this. Is it the way I'm just demonstrating it, or is it actually the price point itself? So super helpful.
Because you're probably going to be having a lot of people come through like your 7-day this or your 14-day that, and so you'll almost, right away, if your numbers are low, and you have the ability, I would get on calls with those people if you can towards the end of that program or in the middle of that program, and just start having that conversation of like, hey, how are things going right now? Yada, yada, yada. And then just start kind of seeding and leading into, hey, I've got this program that kind of follows this thing up. And, here's who it can help. Here's what, we've seen people accomplish during it. And if you did have people that kind of paid for that particular program, you'd be like, hey, if this is something you really want to do, I'd be willing to take what you've paid for the 7-day and make that as a deposit into this program. If you feel like it would be something that would be helpful for you and help you move forward and, get closer to your goals or accomplishing your goals or whatever. So there's a lot of ways you can do it, but when your numbers are lower at the beginning, I would try and have those conversations if you can, face-to-face conversations or phone call, audio conversations. And then as you start to scale, it can be a little bit more of a group type thing if you're running 50, 100 people through it. But you're just going to find that the more conversations that you have, the easier it's going to be to move people into that. Because at the end of the day, most people are just busy. And so even if we do an offer here or there, they might see it, but like the kids are running around and like they just don't have time to act on it right now. But if you have someone and you have their attention, now you have the ability for them to either choose one way or the other. Yes, this is right for me, or no, this is not. And yes, if it is, awesome. Let's get the ball rolling on that. And we don't have to wait to make any other decisions. So I would do that really early on.
Okay, awesome. I could sit here and ask you questions for hours, but I know your time is very valuable. So I appreciate that you've helped me with all this. That helps create a lot of clarity where a new tool always has its fuzziness. And this was really helpful to get some clarity around that, because I love the tool a lot and my clients love it. So being able to use it to its best of its ability. So props to you for creating it. It's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah. And the other thing I would say to do is launch the program before you finish creating it. So get the first 4 weeks done, get the first 6 weeks done, get whatever you feel like is a good buffer for you, and then start selling it. And then you just finish it. It's going to do two things. One, it's going to get you to start taking action faster. And then two, you get people into the program, it's going to force you to finish it. And so it's kind of just leveraging ourselves in a way to get ourselves to do stuff. And so it's a good, healthy leverage to like, okay, I need to finish this because my clients are going to be getting this stuff soon. So then I'm going to record the video. I'm going to, write the article. I'm going to figure out this. And so I think you can have that nice outline, maybe the habits or something like that they're going to go through. You should be able to knock that out pretty quick. But then as far as the content goes, build the first quarter, half, whatever feels comfortable, and then launch it, and then just build the content for the rest of it as people are going through the beginning of it, and then they won't know the difference.
Awesome. I love that. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Trevor.
Yeah. Any other questions or anything else that you have that you want to kind of get some clarity on or need some help with? For the 7-day program, I guess I'm starting to use the resources tab.
I'm putting it in. Essentially, Holly gave me the same advice. Sell it. Once it's sold, create it. But in that sense, but like when I create the program, how do I make the resources go to the program I want it to go to? Does that make sense?
So when you're saying resources, you mean like the resource folder?
Yes. That
or what do you
folder
mean
that I found. Yeah, it's somewhere in here.
So you are delivering, so you're still, are you delivering lessons and actions as well?
Yep, I'll be delivering.
And then you're providing additional resources?
Yep, they're like handouts I wanted to give as an additional resource in case, so if they don't have to remember what lesson to go back to if they need their handout.
Got it. So you're going to deliver it in the lesson, but then you also want it in the resources just to make it easy for them to be able to find it.
Yes.
So, I mean, the easiest way to do that is to use the kind of payments that we've created through Coach Catalyst, because when you set up a program in it, you're going to be able to dictate all of the variables of it. Like, hey, when someone purchases this program, I want them to be, added to start on this day. I want them to have this tag. I want them to be assigned to this coach. I want them to be assigned to this resource, this community. Whatever those variables are within the software, that's probably the easiest way to execute on it, so that the second they purchase, all of that stuff happens on the back end. They get added to your account. All of it just makes sense. And so you can build out like kind of like a mini sales page there as well. So you can send clients to a link. It's like a sales page, talks about the program. You can add video, you can do it all. And then there'll be a purchase button right there. And then that will just connect to everything inside of the software. So that would be the easiest. If you are just adding people yourself, then it'll be a manual process. And so you'll be adding into the program, and then you just hit assign a resource, and then they go in there as well. So.
Okay. For the payment, what percentage, I do have all my stuff through QuickBooks just because I found that that's the lowest percentage that I've found. Do you know what percentage either you guys take or the?
Yep. So ours is $3.99 plus 30 cents. So 30 cents with the transaction and 3.99%.
Okay.
And then, so, I mean, however you do. Go ahead. And
then does that go directly to like my bank account, or would I have to go to like PayPal or Stripe and then to my bank account?
Yep. So it uses Stripe as the payment processor. And so you connect your bank account to Stripe. And so Stripe operates like it's kind of like the intermediary. Mm-hmm. And so all client transactions, we do house them in, or we do show them in Coach Catalyst, but they're also in Stripe. And that's where you could go to manipulate things. But then you have your bank account attached to Stripe, and then Stripe has automated payments pretty much daily. If there's stuff in that account, it's paying directly into your bank account. So you don't have to like move money. It automatically moves. So that would be the most automated, but if you're okay with a little bit of clicks here and there, then you can just add people as they come in as well, or as they purchase.
As a coach that runs challenges, I needed my life back. I had stuff all over the place. A Facebook group for community interaction, Google Sheets for check-ins and measurements, and was drowning in email communication. As my challenges grew past just a handful of people, I started to notice clients were falling through the cracks. I began researching virtual assistants because I just couldn't manage it all. And truthfully, the client experience was going down the drain. Luckily, a friend recommended Coach Catalyst and just told me to trust her. I'm sure glad I did. Now I can run my challenges with 2 or 200 clients with just a few clicks. The lessons get delivered on the right days, the accountability happens automatically, and most importantly, the communication is all in one spot. I even created 2 new challenges from the Coach Catalyst library. Best part, didn't have to change a thing. I used to spend 15 minutes just trying to log into all the apps I needed. Now I log in and my dashboard tells me who needs a shout out and who needs a kick in the butt in about 15 seconds. I feel like a huge weight is lifted off of my shoulders. I can finally spend my time coaching again instead of worrying about all the admin work. Do your brain a favor and get Coach Catalyst.
And I think once I get it dialed in, the whole payment page, sales, all of that is going to make the most sense. But the manual for right now makes the most. But knowing how that works is super awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then do you know how you're going to market and sell this?
So for the 7-day meal prep boot camp that I'm running, I sent an email to my email list. They responded back with a word. I sent another email saying final call, sent back a word. And then I sent them a payment link. So super clunky. My intention when it comes to the signature program as of right now is I want that to be the primary offer. So my thought is email, my Facebook, or anywhere that I promote myself, essentially have that be the offer that I'm always talking about. Unless I run into something different with the person, then I'll go up or down based on that.
Yep. I think that's good. You got your Facebook group, so you've got an audience there. Email is awesome. I mean, if you've been following Pat for, any period of time, like email is king, right? And so continuing to find ways to build that list, whether it's through lead magnets, whether it's through a free 7-day something that's maybe a little more automated. But yeah, I think early on, having as many conversations as you can because the volume is lower allows you to really dial in the process and also dial in the objections and things like what's going on in your client's head. Then you can just get better at the sales copy and everything else. And then as it starts to grow and grow, you've kind of got those things dialed in. Then automations are a little bit more successful because you've really dialed in exactly what's going on in the client's head.
Awesome. And yeah, I've got an ebook that's connected to my YouTube, but I need to that then promotes the meal boot camp, then promotes the boot camp. So I do have a few of those out there. But I need to have one for this program. I need to have something out there, get this free here, and then it just mentions that this type of thing. I know I need to have more of those.
Think simple with that stuff. Like sometimes, like ebook is great. There's probably a ton of awesome information in there, but we're asking people to do work. And so like, can you create like a 1-page explainer or a 1-page this, or like 4 recipes that help you accomplish whatever your clients want to accomplish, lose weight, that take less than 15 minutes, right? That your entire family will enjoy. And so like, what's something that would be beneficial to your target audience that they could use right now? And they don't have to read an entire book to get value out of it. Like give them something now in exchange for their email list or their email address, because that's ultimately what you want, because then you can start to build a relationship and nurture them and kind of bring them into your audience, and then put your offers in front of them. And then when it makes sense for them, they're going to think of you, right? And so email is very much about the long game. And so when that person is ready, we want to be the person they think of when they have that moment where they look in the mirror or they try on a piece of clothing or something like that happens, that triggers it. They're like, okay, I need Morgan's program. Awesome. Now you're there because you've just been there for the last 3 months, 6 months, a year, right?
Right. And the reminder to keep it simple, because it is a recipe book. That's what the ebook is. It's a recipe, but
oh, perfect.
It's like 10 20 recipes, because I just want to give it all. But I think narrowing it down to certain things could also be helpful.
Yeah, and it's really like what we name it, right? The name is really, really important. And so like, even if you took those and just took out your best 5, like 5 recipes every busy mom can make that her family will love in under 15 minutes, in under 20 minutes. And by the way, it'll help you lose weight too. And like, I think it's all about that kind of the language that we use. And then 5 is just like, okay, cool. I don't have to sort through and figure like, oh, cool. Like these are the 5 best, right? And then just go from there. Because all we want, like, we just want that value exchange right away. That's all we're going for. And we can give them more once they're in our program, but right now it's just like make it simple. So I think it's good.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking extra time, Trevor.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you be cool with me following up in a couple weeks just to kind of see how things are going?
Yeah, I've got one more non-related My Coach question, if you're free.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, I got time.
So there's a company that one of their employees is using My Coach to work with me on a health aspect. And they're wanting to figure out if there is a way to manipulate My Coach or a different app with the same concept of share a lesson, share a task, have them complete that for the business setting, for like onboarding employees, or I'm running this conference, I want them to complete these things post-conference. Does that make sense?
So, like, I mean, you can use Coach Catalyst for any sort of coaching, education, anything. And so my coach can also be branded. So we have branded app capabilities. So someone could call it whatever they want and put their own logo on it and that kind of stuff. Because you can really think about Coach Catalyst, it's like a learning management system with a coach on top of it. And so what's delivered within that learning management system is completely up to the creator. So we have people that obviously use it in nutrition and fitness, but we have people that use it in business. They use it in psychology. They use it in addiction. Because really it's a systemized delivery of information. And then it's like a task management type thing, right? And so, yeah, so someone could format it in a way for something like that in a business setting.
Thanks so much for listening to another episode of the Coach Catalyst podcast. If you are a coach looking to do more for your clients than just workouts, give Coach Catalyst a test drive. Try it for 14 days. Jump on call with your personal strategy coach, Ashley, and see how easy technology can be, all for free. Tell them Trevor sent you. Until next time, keep changing lives.